And he came across. He didn't come across like a sergeant majory type.
No, like me sometimes. You mean?
He didn't need saying and wasn't going to go there. No, he didn't. He came across as a very gentle, humorous, creative man.
Lovable. He was intrinsically lovable, wasn't he? He just shared so naturally and openly. He was a complete stranger to us at the beginning, and at the end, we felt like we knew him really well.
Which blew our little theory out of the water that we shouldn't interview people.
Yes, it did. It blew our theory out of the water we shouldn't interview people we know, because he was just gorgeous.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. How's your week been?
Well, two massive things have gone wrong, one of which I haven't even had a chance to tell you about yet.
Oh, God.
But one of the things that's gone right happened when we interviewed Jacqueline Rogers for our summit.
Oh, that was nice, wasn't it?
If you ever doubt the impact you've had on people's lives that you might not know about, she said that I had given her her first copy of the E-Myth on the 1st of December 2004, and she'd used the content of it to create the Athena Network, which is now 32 franchises and 132 groups, which was precisely what Michael Gerber intended. And she's at it again with her new mastermind group, which is called Illuminate. And, you know, sometimes we do this work and not always, but often it feels thankless. You don't know the impact you're having on the world. I don't just mean you and me. I mean all my clients that I encourage to share, you know, their gifts with clients and online and so forth. You don't really ever know the full extent of who you've impacted.
No, it's very true. Very true. Yeah, I mean, it happens on a regular basis. People email you. And then one time I turned up at an event and someone said to me, I've never told you this, but I came to one of your Money Gym events and I went home and I put a video together on YouTube on how to iron a shirt properly. And I've been I made $2,000 off it in the first year.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know, things like that are just amazing. But it you know, to think that book and coming to that workshop at the hotel was, and you giving it, because I remember that I asked you to deliver that workshop after Rachel couldn't do it anymore. And you came in, you did a fantastic job. You had us all colouring in the kitchen, didn't you, with crayons and things?
Well, it was the first workshop I'd ever given in my entire life.
Yeah. And there it is, the Athena Network, springing fully formed. Well, not quite, but...
Well, we both take credit for that, and Chris Barrow, and many, 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 many more mentors besides. She said she'd never been without one. So, you know, I'm not taking full credit for that. I'm just saying that one small gesture, mine, yours, Barrow's, anybody's, you know, complete strangers, we impact each other's lives so much more than we know.
Yeah, we do. And we don't, I mean, look at the other thing. Are you going to talk about the lady in New Zealand later on in the show?
I am. I'm going to pursue what's fueled my fire. Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't want to gazump you, as it were, then. So, but yeah, this podcast is going out, you know, to more and more people every single week, and it's a steady growth. You know, we've gone from averaging between 20 and 40 listeners, you know, an episode to 40 to 60 to 80 to 100. Now every single episode peaks above 100 on the first day and has got nearly as many downloads on the second and third day. And, you know, it's just, we're just reaching more and more people, which I think is just astonishing and very joyful.
Well, before I go on to talk about the lady from New Zealand, are you ready for me to do that?
Not yet. I haven't done my week yet.
Okay, you go. You go.
It's nothing that exciting really. It's just we're in week 3 of working with this new client where we're putting together the whole funnel from a disparate collection of ideas and links and whatever. The website's now gone live and it's looking gorgeous. And she's just put together her first video because you remember she used to be on television in India, so she's a bit more overthinking the videos than she needs to. But she just put together her first video as predicted. She's very very good on it and very natural and looking lovely. And it's lovely to be pulling it together, and putting it into a form. In sort of 8 to 10 years, she's been collecting all this stuff and not managed to put it together and into a business. And I'm getting a lot of pleasure out of doing that. Obviously, with the help of the trusty Sarah, who is very diligent in investigating things and going and finding out things and drawing pictures on whiteboards so she understands and things like that. And it's just a real pleasure. And the other thing that's happened this week is.
Just before we go on, I was going to say it's the vicarious thrill of starting your own business again, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is, yes. But, and the other thing we did yesterday was we booked Phoebe into a 4-star in Bali for her first 3 nights. She's going in 32 days' time. And we used the app, the Priceline app, which was the one we were introduced to by Michael and Kayla, and when we drove across America. And I think it was 15 quid for a night in the local backpackers hostel, which I have to say looked clean, but not much else to recommend it. Whereas she can get closer to the beach in a 4-star, which has got an 8.7 customer rating for £21 a night for the 2 of them. So if you're going to Bali, book in a 5-star because they're only about 23 quid a night.
Well, I'm proud to tell you I have never stayed in a hostel in my entire life, and I've no plans to change that now.
Well, I think Phoebe's been spoilt by the Waldorf and places like that. Now she's not interested either.
Yeah.
So she's staying in a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel that's a walk from the beach, and it makes me feel a bit happier because she's going to get there. They're going to be grumpy, they're going to be filthy, they're going to be homesick. And just to reorientate yourself for a few nights in a nice environment with a lovely pool and a nice restaurant will be good. But yes.
And then what happens? They move out and into a hostel, do they?
Well, I think they see what happens then. I think they go on, they connect with some people, they go on a few trips. And she says, I do want to rough it in the hostel at some point, and I do want to make friends. And you're not going to, I said, you'll make a much better quality class of friend in a 4-star hotel. But yeah, but that's not the point. I want to meet other backpackers. So they're going to go on trips and they'll meet people because they're both pretty outgoing characters. So it'll be good. But 32 days till my baby goes away for 6 weeks. Oh God, I'll be more of a mess than I am now. What's fueled your fire then, Judith?
Rose from New Zealand.
Oh, yes.
Who sent us a message on our podcast Facebook page over the weekend. And before I read it to you, I'm going to tell you where Rose is available on social media. Her business seems to be called Point Bush Estates, pointbush.co.nz, at Point Bush Estates on Instagram, and facebook.com/Vines Restaurant New Zealand. So I think it's a winery and a restaurant on the winery.
My dad's probably been there.
Lovely, 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 Rose. I'm going to read this, okay, because, I'll read it. Dear Nicola and Judith, I have been meaning to find time to write to you for a while now. I stumbled across your podcast searching for women in business. Nicola, that's a SEO search term for you.
Yeah.
To follow. I stumbled across your podcast searching for women in business to follow and possibly find some inspiration from, and all I can say is I absolutely love listening to both of you and your show. I rarely find time to listen each week, unfortunately, so I tend to catch up on several episodes at a time, and it always amazes me how each show resonates deeply in some way, shape or form. I have had what you would call a steep 2-year learning curve in entrepreneurship, taking on and expanding my family's business in New Zealand, here we go, a winery, restaurant and B&B lodge, with many days feeling totally out of my depth and comfort zone. Fortunately, I found your podcast and you both provide a wonderful source of friendly banter, plenty of advice and many new areas of interest or business leaders to look up. I really, really appreciate the time and passion you both obviously have for your clients and listeners alike. I only wish I had less frantic weekends so I could take time to listen each week. So much of what you discuss hits a nerve. It's quite amazing, from the always refreshing social media tips and tricks to some days not so brave warrior princess episode. Business and sales growth for creatives, the hotel business, those frustrating TripAdvisor reviews, the list goes on. I'm so looking forward to the Laptop Lifestyle Summit coming up. It is my goal to set this business up so I can work on, not in the business, from anywhere. That's an E-Myth allusion there. So I am counting down till kickoff. The best part is I will be over in the UK while it's on, so no pesky time difference to contend with. I am now hanging out for my hour of listening time when I can catch this week's show. From this side of the world to yours, keep on doing what you're doing, and thank you so much for sharing. Now, do you remember saying to me once, why are we so popular in New Zealand or something? You said, yes, do you remember that? Well, I don't know whether it's Rose, but the New Zealanders who are so far away from us, it's not true, 13 hours or something, seem to like what we're doing, which is nice.
I know. It's the third biggest country. I think we must have had a mention somewhere. That's all I can think for a sudden.
I also think there is a bit of a rapport between New Zealand and the UK. I don't know why I know that, but I've forgotten the reason how I know that or why I know that. I've got a couple of clients in New Zealand, and what the other thing is, of course, relating to New Zealand, and I know it's not very, very related, but we've spoken to so many Australians or people who love Australia on our summit. The Aussies are very refreshing. We're deeply connected with that corner of the world, Nicola.
Yeah, so I don't know why that is either. But anyway, my dad's very keen on wineries and bed and breakfasts and restaurants. So I'll have to send him and Eileen along because they live there, and I'm sure that would be really amazing for Rose if my dad suddenly turned up.
Yes, it would. Yes.
Look out for a bloke who looks like Terry Wogan. That'll be him. But he'll spend a bit, so that'll be all right. He likes his wine, that's for sure. Oh my God. So that's lovely, isn't it? And really, if you are listening and we are making a difference, then we would love to hear from you. And hopefully, Rose will be, in I don't know where she'll be, in a hotel or someone's house or whatever. She'll be able to, dial in and talk to us personally, which would be really good.
Well, certainly, tight chat. We're going to have a chat facility on the days, aren't we?
Yes, we are. More about that anon.
Okay.
Right. What's fuel my fire? The power of follow-up. I mean, whenever I get the power.
Sorry.
The power. What? The power of follow-up.
Okay.
Because whenever I go anywhere, I do actually email the people, and people do say it's astonishing how many people don't do that. So I always do at least email the people I spoke to and send them things that I think they might like book recommendations or whatever. And somebody's taken it a bit further, because we were trying to think of. For the new project, we were trying to think of how we could find a few businesses to talk to find out what they actually wanted before we put together our offer. And so we suddenly realised that I'd just spoken to 100 businesses in Kent. And if there was a bunch of 100 businesses that would be great to speak to, because A, they've demonstrated their interest in digital marketing because they've been to an event, and B, they've seen me speak. So it's not as cold an approach as it might have been otherwise. So this person rang several people. We picked out a load of about 18 or 19, and he got round to ringing about 5. And he spoke to 3 people, and he got 2 strong expressions of interest, but not for what we thought they would be after, for something much bigger, which has thrown my thinking into disarray again. So, but it was interesting that, those 3 people were looking for someone to do digital marketing for them, but they hadn't approached us or anyone else, as far as I'm aware of the speakers. So, when you go to things, people's thoughts are stirred up. They're thinking about things, but they might not have got to the point of taking action yet. And just by a little bit of gentle and informative follow-up, you can get in first, as it were. Interesting. So there you go. So that's my tip for the week, really.
One of our speakers mentioned that to us as well. I can't actually remember who it was. It might have been Yarrow Starak. Somebody said how important that was.
It was the Merrymakers. Yeah, they were saying they went home and they followed up everyone they'd met. They were lovely, weren't they? God, they were great fun.
They were lovely, yes.
About 4 or 5 podcasts ago, Judith and I came up with a brilliant idea. As is our way, we put it into action straight away. We wanted to create a virtual summit called Beyond the Laptop Lifestyle, We'll interview people who actually make lots of money and then have a great lifestyle and travel the world, or interesting people who have a great passion-driven lifestyle and who then make enough money on the side to fund that lifestyle. We're aiming for a real mix of real people, people we actually know, not going for the usual names, but a carefully chosen and hand-picked group of people who we know are doing unique work while living an enviable lifestyle and having fun. Just come over to ownitthesummit.com to find out more and to register for free for the live event on the 18th and 19th of June. We will be making recordings and you will be able to get your hands on them as part of your upgraded summit experience. Just visit ownitthesummit.com. Okay, so client opportunity of the week.
I don't know whether it's an opportunity or a challenge, but it's one you brought up about busting tolerations.
Yes, now you set the scene on this, going back to coaching days.
Okay, well, we talk quite often on this podcast, and we've mentioned him on a couple of the summit calls as well. The man that inspired us both to be coaches a long time ago, who sadly died all too soon, was a man called Thomas Leonard. And he put us through a couple of programs, one of which was called True Values, and another one was called Needs Less.
Oh yeah.
And what he encouraged us to see and understand was how much energy is tied up in the things that you tolerate. Now, let me give a few examples of this. One of the things I'm tolerating is all of the wires on the floor underneath my desk. And one day soon I will reach the point where I unplug everything and plug it all in again and tidy up the spaghetti of the wires. Now, I'm not tolerating very much at the moment because I'm so minimalist and I'm just about to move. The things I'm tolerating are not within my control. But the things that we tend to tolerate are the big pile of stuff we step over, the things we mean to get sorted out but never make time for. They're all draining. The fact that the washing machine doesn't work properly unless you press the button in a particular way and you haven't had time to get the repairman round. What else, Nicola? What else do you tolerate?
Paintwork and grubby fingerprints.
Yeah, okay.
Not so much nowadays, but when the children were little, there was always grubby fingerprints everywhere. And you'd walk past it and think, I really must clean that. And then your cleaner would come and she'd do the normal and then she wouldn't clean that. And next week you'd be saying to yourself, I really must clean that as you walk past. But it takes up brain space, doesn't it?
More than brain space, I think heartache as well. And I think it's on a mental list all the time, which is just draining. And what happens, I think, is even if something on your computer doesn't work properly, or you haven't outsourced that yet, or you haven't got a system for that, you kind of adapt. It's why people limp, isn't it? Because there's something the matter with one of their legs. They haven't been to the doctor, so they they limp because it hurts on that leg, and then 30 years later you're still limping.
Yes,
it's all the things that you mean to sort out, big, small, medium, and large, that you haven't got around to yet. And the whole point of it is, when you do, there's this huge surge of time and energy and joy that's been liberated by the fact that you finally ticked it off your list. Your tax return's a good one. I'm trying to encourage all my clients to do it now rather than have it hanging over them until the 31st of January.
Yeah. And the situation I'm in means that my emotions are very near to the surface. I regularly surprise myself. And I burst into tears last Thursday at the pub, which wasn't great. Luckily, the kids had moved on and it was just Sarah and my ex-husband. And it was because I work in the dining room, and in the mornings the sun shines in through the dining room window in the kitchen, and it comes into it's lovely. And then by the time the sun swung around to the front of the house, the dining room is a dark, cold little cave. And no matter how hot it is outside, because it's got flint walls, this house, it's very well insulated. So it's lovely and cozy in the winter, but in the summer, it's dark, dank and cold in the afternoons. And I realised when we were talking about that whole Crete thing and should we go and live in that woman's villa in Crete for a couple of years, I realised that the thing that I was tolerating was that dark dining room every afternoon, and it actually made me feel quite depressed. So what I've done is I thought, okay, what can I do? I can get up earlier and start work earlier so I can finish earlier. And then that's, Sarah started laughing at that because she knows that I find it very difficult to stop working because I love it so much. And then I thought, okay, so how can I change my location? I'm not one to go and sit in a coffee shop because I actually need quite a lot of silence to work. I find it easier to concentrate without any auditory or visual input apart from what I'm doing. So I thought, okay, well, I could go and sit in the garden, couldn't I? Oh, well, no, I can't because there's no sun umbrella and there's no internet. Okay, so let's get a sun umbrella. So I ordered one from Argos and it came the same day, Judith. Can you imagine that? You order something at 3 PM and it comes by 7 o'clock at night. And then I thought, okay, so how can I sort the internet things? We've got a booster in the kitchen, but the booster in the kitchen doesn't get a very strong signal because of the flint walls. And then Sarah said, haven't you got something you can plug a wire into in the dining room? And I said, oh, yeah, what's it called, ADSL thingy?
Yes.
Yeah. So I plug my computer into it. And to be honest, I don't think it makes much difference in the speed, but because I'm only a room away from the router. But she said, well, couldn't you just plug an extension in there and take it in the garden? So I went online, obviously Amazon, loving this. And I not only ordered that, I ordered a little plastic ring that sits in the middle of the table to protect the glass table from the umbrella moving about. An ADSL cable about 25 foot long. I think it's 4 or 5 meters. And I'm hoping it's long enough, but if it isn't, I'll send it back. And then, and so I zapped about 5 or 6 tolerations and the big one in one fell swoop. So I can now mooch out to the garden with my laptop and do some stuff in the garden, which would be nice.
But you haven't tried it yet, have you?
Not yet, no, because it's raining.
I'm not optimistic about the possibility of working in the garden. I don't think I could work in the garden.
Well, yes, you've got a garden room, haven't you? Which is nice.
Well, it's not so much the. Well, yes, it's not so much the garden. I don't think I could work al fresco anywhere in the world. Now, back to your dingy dining room. Funnily enough, my son is exactly the opposite of yours. I'm quite chilly and dark in the mornings, and then I'm bright at noon onwards, and then I'm too bright towards the end of the day. And I haven't managed to work. Well, if I was staying here, I would have a darker blind. Because actually, when the sun's in my eyes, I can't see the screen. That's one of the reasons why now I couldn't work outside, even with an umbrella.
Yeah. But the point about tolerations are you often don't notice them, but you put up and they suck your energy every day, sucking a bit of your energy. And actually, I just sat down once a week and wrote a list of the things you were tolerating. And the marvellous things about tolerations is once you start to write them down and become aware of them, often other people fix them for you. So sometimes you'll just say, oh, I've just made a list of my tolerations and blah's really annoying me. And so someone will say, oh, I can do that, or I can sort that, or I'll help you with that. And I'll never forget once when we were sharing a house with Sarah and Nick and their kids, and we had this office that was the last thing to get decorated. And I was saying, oh, one of my tolerations is the office is a bit dingy, because it needs decorating. And Nick said, let's do it this weekend then. And he proceeded to paint the whole thing.
Yes. I tell you why it is, I think it is that if all of us, you, me, and everybody listening, made a list of the things that we're tolerating, the things that we're tolerating are the things that seem difficult or hard or impossible to us. But if you share them with other people, most people think, oh, no, if you're making such a fuss about it, that's easy. They would find some of our things easy and we would find some of their things easy. I think it's that.
The other thing is, think about successful people. Do successful people tolerate stuff? No, they don't. They get someone to fix it. So, that's the thing, is we've got to think, are we treating ourselves less well by tolerating things and thereby sending a subconscious message to our brain that we're not worthy of looking after to the top level possible?
Yeah. I also think with some toleration, certainly in our work, I can't think of a good example now, but when my printer runs out of certain colours and I press print, it says, you can't print this in colour. If you want to print it in black and white, press this button. Okay. And that's all right, but it's a workaround. Do you know what I mean? So every time I print a piece of paper, I have to think, and that's the sort of thing we're talking about, which if everything runs seamlessly, you don't just save energy, it's time.
Yeah, and this comes back to order 2 of everything. I've started doing that. I've started buying 2 of everything. I've just ordered 2 months worth of contact lenses rather than 1, because when I get to the end of the first month, I'm going to start ordering the second month and things like that. And I've definitely started buying 2 of things so that there's always a spare. That again frees you up from the hanging over you thing that you're about to run out of something and you really must get to boots.
My contact lenses come on auto ship and they charge me by direct debit once a month, so I don't have to do anything at all.
Yeah, that's interesting. I might swap to that now. I've only just moved to buying my lenses online, so that's a step further for me. But I can't see any reason why I wouldn't do that.
No, quite. Mine come from my optician, so that's why. Yeah. But some things that you buy on Amazon are allowed to, particularly in the health arena. They give you a drop-down box giving you a choice for auto ship.
Yeah, nice, very nice. Things I'm tolerating still are that when I go to do a Camtasia recording, I only get the option of using my microphone or recording internally what's playing on the computer. I'd like to do both occasionally, and I can't figure out why it doesn't do that. Earphones. I want some proper earphones that don't fall out all the time, but I've got funny shaped ears. So I've just ordered some earphones that are supposed to be sports ones, and they've got this weird little dongle, gadget, whatever it is on them. Stabilizer it's called, but it doesn't stabilize them at all. They dropped out immediately. That's annoying. And I've got a box of files that Steve's stepdad just delivered. And I've got to work out what to do with that because they're all big files and they're sitting on the table, and that's a big toleration now. What to do with them? I don't know. Empty them out, put them through the shredder. I haven't got a shredder, so they're just going to.
I've got an idea for that. What sort of files are they, by the way?
All sorts of things. Old traffic launch formula things. Lots of old money gym papers. Stuff like that.
If they're confidential, i.e. accounting, then I would shred them. If they're just product launch formula, then you don't need to shred that, do you?
No, I haven't got a shredder though.
But I have this man that comes to the house and shreds it in the street. Do you remember? I bet you. Yeah, if you Google security shredding, a man brings his van round, does it in your house, and you can watch it happening. And
very satisfying.
Yeah, very satisfying in every sense because you feel confident that your confidential data is not going to be misused after it's been taken away.
So perhaps we could share a few tolerations in the private Facebook group for Own It the podcast. And you are if you're listening right now, you're very welcome to come and join that. No, completely free of charge. Just search for Own It on Facebook with a space in between the two words, and you'll find the private group and just request to join. And we'd be delighted to discuss tolerations because you might have one that we could all brainstorm about how to get rid of.
Yeah,
and it would stop taking up your brain space.
So the advice here is don't tolerate.
Yeah, be intolerant. In fact, who was it? Was it Rich? No, it wasn't. It was Thomas Leonard who used to say, overreact to these things. If something bothers you and you fix it, don't just fix it so that it's fixed for now. Fix it so that it's fixed forever.
Yeah.
Overreact, don't just react.
I think you would have said over-respond.
Yes, possibly, yes.
There's a subtle difference there, which is we all want to be responding, not reacting.
So my other idea was that we ought to dig out the portable coach, which was Thomas's book, and work through some of those things. In fact,
I don't have a physical copy anymore. Do you?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's another thing I'm tolerating is that I need to sort my book cupboard out.
Again.
Yes, it's mounted up again, I'm afraid. But yes, I do have a copy of the portable coach. But the thing we could talk about is this needs less and core values. Because
it's true that TRU values, people should Google this and put themselves through the test. TRU values and needs less, one word.
Yeah.
And they're both programs that you can work your way through ticking boxes. You can give yourself a score. You can set about fixing the things that you still need to fix. Then you go back and take the test a month or two later and see if you've improved your score.
Yeah, improved your quality of life. And the thing that it brought out for me was, if your core needs are things without which you don't feel complete, and your core values are things that make your heart sing. And one of mine is learning. It's a core need. I need to be constantly learning, and it's something I really, really enjoy. And it makes my heart sing. So that was interesting.
I will try and link to both programs if they're still available online in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I know one of them is. I'm not sure about the other one.
I know one of them is. Yeah.
Good. Well, word of the week then.
Do you want to go first?
It is product. Because I keep forgetting, and you keep reminding me, that this summit we're doing is not just a transitory, ephemeral weekend thing. It's actually creating a product. And I keep forgetting that and then getting reminded and getting all excited again. Because it's
creating an evergreen product forever. They'll sell forever. I don't see the content of it ever devaluing.
No, neither do I, having heard a lot of the interviews now or participated in them even. Yeah, it's creating how to create product as enjoyably as this. I can't think of many ways, to be honest.
I wonder whether we might not go on doing it month by month rather than having... Well, anyway, we'll talk about that. But yes, product. Is that your word?
Yes.
I've got a word, and then I want a bonus word this week.
Well, we've got plenty of time because our opportunity stroke challenge didn't take very long this week.
Marvellous. Okay, so my word, as inspired by James Roche, who we spoke to last Friday, is efficient. He was completely unapologetic about, and more than that, what's the opposite of unapologetic? He was gleeful about the fact that the place that they've chosen to live in as their forever home, which is Amsterdam, is efficient. One of the reasons they chose it was because as a city it works well. And the whole Dutch mentality suits him because they're so efficient, they work for 35 hours a week and knock off and have a life. And efficiency is something I love, as you know very much. And it's something I might apologise about, you know, how efficient I am, because everybody else is so laid back. And it was just lovely to hear him saying that was an important, well, probably value, or certainly criteria of his in how they chose where they've settled. I liked him a lot. And another thought, I'm just going to have another thought since we've got the time. The thing that I really liked that he said was that he's partnered with JV'd with a lot of high profile people. And he himself is quite an introvert, I think, but he rises to the occasion ably, and he was very lovable on the call with us. But he said the thing he described himself as was easy to partner with. Actually, no, I've blown my who or what's impressed. That's what I was going to say in who or what's impressed. I'm easy to partner with. So people approach him, and he makes it easy to do business with him. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, the thing I find fascinating about all that was he came across as a creative type. He calls himself the creative director when he partners with these other
people.
So
yes, he does. Yeah.
But then when you talk about efficiency, there's obviously he's obviously partnering with people and they want him to organise them. So he's obviously highly efficient himself, but yet creative. And
well, they sound like a conflict, don't they? But I've got both of those qualities. Yeah.
And he came across. He didn't come across like a Sergeant Majory type.
No. Like me sometimes, you mean?
He didn't need saying and wasn't going to go there. No, he didn't. He came across as a very gentle, humorous, creative man.
Lovable. He was intrinsically lovable, wasn't he? Yeah. He just shared so naturally and openly. He was a complete stranger to us at the beginning, and at the end, we felt like we knew him really well.
Which blew our little theory out of the water that we shouldn't interview people.
Yes, it did. It blew our theory out of the water we shouldn't interview people we know, because he was just gorgeous.
Yes.
Anyway, my bonus word, and I fear I'm going to have to explain this, but my bonus word is one of my clients who's also a listener called Kath. And we have got a new word that makes us laugh now, and it's tripod. And so I said to her, look, I'm going to try and slip the word tripod into the podcast as often as I can to give her a laugh. But what she was telling me was that she'd hired a new member of staff, and she said, and she's come with her own tripod and everything. I said, tripods? How much do tripods cost? You know, tripods. It's like, is that a reason to hire somebody, that they came with their own tripod and everything? Well, we had such a laugh about that. And I keep using the word tripod to her now at every available opportunity. So my second word of the week is tripod for Kath.
Well, I'm very proud to say that I not only have a extendable tripod under my desk, which I can use, so that I could actually rate, like cameramen do. But I've now got a little bendy-legged tripod, which enables me to screw in the top a clamp for my iPhone, so that when I'm doing Facebook Live videos, I can put it in front of my computer on the thing that raises my computer up, and it makes me look quite naturally into the right part of the camera, while still see my computer.
Are you telling me, Nicola, you're a woman of multiple tripods?
I'm a bi-tripod household, but
two things. You're a shoe-in for a job at Kath's business, which is called Perception PR, that does PR for glamorous hotels and restaurants around the world, which you'd love.
I would.
So you have tripod will travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Phoebe's just bought herself a tripod with magnetic legs. So it's a gorilla tripod that bends around things like tree trunks and branches and stuff like that. Wow. And it's got magnetic legs, so that it actually sticks to magnetic things while bending around things. So it's
it's a PC. Kath, 2 new employees, both with their own tripods.
We have a tripod for every occasion in this house. We don't use them as often as we should, mind. That's the problem.
Well, frankly, you and Phoebe are twin souls with Kath, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Good fun. PR for hotels and restaurants around the world. That sounds like a right old laugh.
I know.
Yeah, very nice. And PR really is what digital marketing is now. I mean, digital marketing is a part of the whole PR. I mean, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about getting people exposure.
You're absolutely right. It's also all about the tripod, all about the tripod, all about the tripod.
Hilarious. Right then, project updates.
Okay, I'm going to give you my customary audit.
Yep.
We've decided to stick at 18 speakers because that was easy. We were struggling to get the last two, not to find them, but to get them to answer our requests. So we've done 14.
They've missed their chance.
Yeah, they have. We've done 14, and we've done 14. We've got 3 to do on Friday, so by Saturday we'll have done 17. We're going to stick at 18, and we're doing him at 8 o'clock on the morning of the 31st of May. So we will have met my target of doing all the speakers within May, which is absolutely gorgeous. We've got 88 out of 100 people on our thunderclap.
That's incredible.
Well, that is awesome. And you don't know this yet, but this morning, while you've been pootling about, I've had a massive clear out on Trello, and anything that we've done's gone. So next time you go in there, you'll see a very much shorter thing. One of our underachieving areas at the moment is the blog competition that you and I are the only 2 people to have entered. So anybody that enters the blog competition will be a shoo-in to win a prize. And now, I sent you an email yesterday saying, since we'll have done all the interviews by Friday bar 1, we've got the whole of next week and the whole of June free for marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just outsourced my bit because it wasn't getting done. And
okay. I'm proud to say I've done my bit every day.
Yes, I know you have, and I'm feeling very bad that I haven't. I did rather well one day and half well the next day, and then the next day was a complete disaster. So,
well, shall I tell you how I did it? I just basically put in my diary every day on Monday to Friday between now and the summit. Summit marketing.
Yes.
And I'm following the plan you set up, and that's why you weren't working, because you weren't following your own plan, because you confessed last week you love to set up a plan, but you've got no interest in following them, you funny stick.
It's a real failing, it's like this thing, I put it in my diary, like you say, and then I don't do it. What's wrong with me? What?
You're disobedient to your own self.
I know, I'm a rebel through and through, even to my own.
Well, the funny thing is, it's marketing, and we both love marketing. Why wouldn't you want to do something that's lovely marketing?
Because it's repetitive. And it's not spontaneous in the moment. That's why. And so anyway, it's all right. I've delegated it now, so it will get done. And
so, just before we go, I'm just finishing on my little bit. This week we've been very Oz-centric, as I hinted earlier. We did Yarrow Starrick, which was a coup, quite frankly.
He was fantastic, wasn't he?
It was an absolute coup. He's been one of our heroes for a decade, and he made himself freely and readily and enthusiastically available to us. And he was interesting and kind and nice and informative, and a man after my own heart, because he likes words, written and spoken, and he's only interested in blogging and podcasts. Hear, hear, Yarrow. Yeah, and then yesterday, these 2 20-year-old girls who began their business by giving up, ditching. They said they were obsessed with going to the gym, calories and food, and their lives were miserable and they had a poor self-image. And so they decided to start 4 years ago by ditching processed food for 4 weeks. They felt so much better that they started posting pictures of what they were actually eating on Instagram, and they've created a full-time business out of it in 4 years. And they're 25 and 28 respectively.
I know. I sent that immediately to Phoebe because she's feeling a little bit down. She's struggling to believe that just posting pictures on Instagram can build you a following. And I said, really, you've got to listen to these merrymakers. Not only were they very merry and good fun, I mean, giggling but smart. They were really smart cookies, weren't they? And
they were giggling central, which was very funny, actually.
It was, yes. And it makes me laugh just thinking about them. Actually, they're so joyful, and they're both really, really beautiful girls. So God knows what they look like before, because whatever it is working for them. And they're they were in PR. They were in PR and communications. Interesting, there's a PR theme running through this, but they're just about to launch their membership site. They get sponsored by all sorts of big big firms, you know, corporates, to go and review things and to check things out, and you know, they were very firm that they would only do stuff that's aligned with their brand, and I thought that was really cool too, because you know they're living their values, aren't they, and their integrity.
Well, I'll tell you what was fascinating. They did something that we talked about in an episode a while back. Because they came from a communications background, the first income they created in their business was from sponsorship on their blog. And they did outbound marketing. They went to brands that they knew and asked them to sponsor.
Yeah, and that was interesting, that brands will pay you to write a blog post that contains references to their brand.
It will if you've got enough followers. And at that point, they had 1,000. They only had 1,000. Now they've got 64,000.
Good grief. That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, coming back to Yarrow as well, you know, he doesn't want an affiliate link. He'll thunderclap for us and he'll share his episode. He wants to know when his episode's going out. You know, we've got to do the schedule yet, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
He spends, what he didn't say, and I didn't get a chance to say, was he spends an awful lot of time in his membership site working with people, you know, written replies to their challenges. And if he doesn't see you, he must have some way of alerting himself if someone hasn't, you know, if someone's logging in and not saying anything, because he'll call you out. He'll say, you know, what's your accountability for this week? What goals do you want to achieve? You know, and he does it in a really gentle way. He's very present in his own membership site, and I think that must take a lot of his time. So that was very interesting. So
I do that in my small business big magic. If people don't turn up to the calls, I say, "Where are you?"
Yeah. And I think people appreciate the fact that you're looking out for them and noticing if they're not.
Well, that's noticing them by their absence. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me want to have another membership site.
But you don't need to have a membership site. You can do it in a Facebook group if you want.
Yeah, that's really long term. That's really bad news. Everyone's saying that Facebook is going to start closing the private groups down or charging to run them. I don't know which way it's going to go. Anyway, my project updates, right. So I've outsourced my social media schedule, and tech specs are my next thing. I'm turning my attention. I fixed the issue with not being able to link to read more on the speakers page where, you know, they haven't got a write-up. They've just got, you know, a picture and read more link. I don't know what was going on there. It worked on two and then it didn't work on the others. And I went back the other day and it worked perfectly on all of them. So that was a bit of a mystery. It obviously sorted itself out. The one thing I've now got is I've put a thing in Internet Marketing Super Friends as well, is to get suggestions onto how to achieve all our goals for the weekend, because we want to be live ourselves, but not on video. We want to be able to play the interviews at certain times and chat, you know, and man the chat. And ideally, you said, and I agree with you, it'd be great if it was embedded on a page where there were easy links to everything else. And I'm not sure we're going to be able to achieve that latter thing. I don't think GoToWebinar embeds anywhere. But if we used another platform, I think it would need one or both of us to be on video. And I know you're not keen on that. So it would be a bit boring, I think, with just me on video and you on speaker. But anyway, I'm still investigating. I'll try.
We don't particularly want to make it about us either on the weekend. We want to make it about the speakers, with us being available on live chat, I think.
Yes, I think so. I think an audio only platform is the way forward, but it's got to be an audio only.
Well, it should have ideally a chat box and a ability to. I mean, GoToWebinar's got this. I think the ability to show pictures.
Well, it has, but it doesn't have the ability to embed itself in a page. So what we'd have to
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But as a second choice, we could have visuals, i.e., of the things we want to send people to.
Yes, that's true. We could have slides, but if we're going to do visuals, we might as well do it on Webinar Jam and just not have our cameras turned on, because that would give us lots of really neat.
Okay. Does that give? Well, Webinar Jam sounds nice. Does that allow live chat?
It does allow live chat, and it allows. Yeah. The only other thing is, one thing that would be nice is to be able to bring people from the live chat on to talk to us live.
Does Webinar Jam? Well, we won't have much time for that, Nicola. We've got 9 hours of interviews in a day, and we've got little breaks between them and a slightly longer break at lunchtime. So we're going to have. We're not going to have time. We don't have time for bringing people on, but we have got time for chatting them. And neither of us. Sometimes we both be there together, but we don't both need to be there together for the 2 long days. We can give each other a break.
Yeah, comfort breaks, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
More than that, really.
Let me investigate Webinar Jam then, because it's got nice facilities for that. And
okay, we could maybe do a trial on that.
Yeah, we would need to do a trial. Yeah,
it would be great if we could set it up in advance so that the actual tech you've got to do on the day is limited.
So that the things that play are playing automatically at a certain time.
They play on a schedule, and all we have to do is be there to live chat.
That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Not convinced. It would. You never know, though. If you outline your desires, then they may come true.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I'm really thrilled on the project updates. And you were really instrumental in that big push to getting us to 88 thing, because what you did was you went and looked for the people in your groups that hadn't helped us yet,
well, you gave me an Excel spreadsheet of everybody who thunderclapped, and I cross-referenced it with my closest friends who are my clients in both of my groups, and then I called them out by name. I said, "Thank you X, Y, and Z for doing it. A, B, and C, would you ever go now?" Now, interestingly, and I'm going to share this here because it's for the benefit of the listeners as well, a thunderclap is very easy to do, but 2 people have fed back to me that one of the reasons why they didn't like it was because they had to authorize the Thunderclap app to have control over their Twitter account. And I said to them, yes, that's absolutely right, and I could understand why you don't like that. Of course, you can immediately unauthorize it afterwards. And we should all go into Twitter every now and again and audit the number of apps we've allowed access to our account and take away the ones we don't need there any longer.
Yeah, but you know what's happened now, because they've gone in straight away and unauthorised it. They're thunderclapping.
No, they haven't. They haven't gone in straight away and unauthorised it. And the other thing to remember is that what confuses people is a lot of people have just been sharing it, thinking that has done the thunderclap.
Yes.
It hasn't. I think the other thing to remember is that it doesn't. In getting your 100 sponsors, all you need is 1 vote. It doesn't matter even if the people have got no followers. If they've got 1 follower, they're one of the 88, one of the 100.
Yeah, if they've got 1 friend on Facebook,
exactly.
They're good.
Yeah. Yeah, after 100, then we're going to go mad and we get Yarrow to thunderclap it and all of that. But we just need 100 to qualify, otherwise the thunderclap doesn't go out at all.
Yes, exactly. And it'd be nice to get more than 100, so we're going to carry on.
I'm sure we will. And
the other thing I've got to do is I've got to notify WP Engine, I'm making a note of that now, that we might get up to 250,000 visitors to our site in one go.
Okay.
That would be quite amazing, wouldn't it?
Well, and you can even tell WP Engine when it will be. It'll be on the 17th of June at such and such a time.
Yeah, I will. I'll get onto their support and let them know. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm with WP Engine, because it's a lot more robust. And I see as this podcast grows, we're going to get more and more traffic all the time.
So the benefit of me asking friends by name to do it was that one guy said to me yesterday, had it not been you, I wouldn't have done it. So do you see, I was actually leveraging the extent to which he knows, likes and trusts me to ask him to do it for me. That makes sense.
Very good. Very well done. Okay, so what's impressed this week then?
Well, I've blown mine already. It was James Roche's I'm Easy to Partner With.
So talk a bit more about that then. What did you get from what he said there? I mean, because he was talking about.
I've never heard anybody say before, I'm easy to partner with. What it reminds me of is the thing that you and I have taught a lot of people to do, and Rachel Elnor reminded us all in a prosperity course of hers we did once, which is make it easy for people to pay you. And what he said was, because his operating system is, I asked him this specifically, do you court people that you would like to work with? No, they find me. But when they find him, he said, I'm easy to partner with. So he makes it easy for his ideal clients to proposition him.
He did say at one point he paid X amount of money to join a top-level mastermind group to be in the same vicinity as someone he would have liked to have worked with. And that made it easy for them to partner with him because he was in their group. They got to know him on a personal level, and they got to know what his skills and things were. So he did invest as well.
That was Ali Brown. And of course, after he partnered with her, he was visible. So now people just come to him because they know whose expertise is. And the reason we discovered this, oh, what an enviable position he's in. I don't think you'd like this. I would like this. He, as I pointed out to him, hasn't blogged or put anything on social media since 2013. So people just come to him. It's a referral, word of mouth thing again. We talked about that in a podcast before.
Yeah.
His attraction marketing strategy is people come to him and he makes it easy to partner with him. And I just thought that was, everybody's got their own operating system. And when they describe it, they may or may not be as aware as James what they've got going on that is or is not working.
I still get people who say to me sometimes, I couldn't find your email address. And they message me on Facebook and say, I couldn't find your email address. And I think every single website's got a contact form. Every single, I've been using the same.
I'm not sure. Has yours? Because quite a lot of people email me because they can't find a contact form on yours.
Yeah, well, there's either a contact form or there's something that tells them to email me at nicola@nicolacairncross.com. One of the two. So it's quite interesting how people I suppose they just don't go looking.
Have you got that on Clicks and Leads? Because that's the site you talk about most often on this podcast. And a lot of podcast people email me via my contact form because they say, I couldn't find one on Nicola's.
Well, no, I don't really want them to. But there is.
Well, that's the point. Because you've expected the podcast listeners when they can't contact you because they can't find it on Clicks and Leads. And that's the site that you've talked about most on the podcast.
Right, hold on one second. I'm checking this now. I'm going to.
Should you do it now? Because it's quite dull us listening to you. Well, tell us what whose or what impressed you.
Well, you've been absolutely brilliant at organising this. You're right. There's no contact form. hang on a minute. Let me just make sure. Oh, no,
don't do it now, Nicola. Don't do it in real time live on the podcast. Tell me more about how wonderful I am.
Yeah, all right. Well, you have been really brilliant at this. You've mastered. You've taken what was a brilliant idea, but with no actual sort of thought behind it about how to actually do it, and you've made it all happen. It wouldn't have happened without you. In the same way that my other podcast wouldn't have happened without Sarah, because I am absolutely bloody hopeless at organising detail. And Sarah keeps saying to me, "You shouldn't say that on the podcast because people think you're useless." But no, you've been amazing at the follow-up organisation. It's been.
I'll tell you what you're making me realise about myself, which is I'm all in. If I'm not all in, I wouldn't have said yes.
Yes. Yeah, and you have been all in, and it's happening because of that, which leaves me free to do the bits that that I can do, which is bring great guests to the table and then sort out the tech.
I am loving all the bits I have to do. So I love admin. I'm very efficient admin. I mean, you've caused me anxiety a couple of times, but you've been absolutely brilliant as well, which is sometimes there's a moment at the top of the hour when we've got some big cheese speaker on and there's no sign of you online anywhere. And I think, oh, God, she's not going to show up. But you haven't missed a single call in 14. We've only got 4 more to go, which is I'm very optimistic about. And immediately now I've got a system where I write up the blog post. I've loved doing that. It's just all lovely. There's no jobs in here that I've got to do that I'm not actually enjoying. No,
ditto. So there you go. So coming back to, could there be a more joyful way to create an evergreen product? I don't think so. It's
well, if we now you've embraced the concept of the evergreenness of it, that means this podcast can be sponsored by the 2 months, not hard work, but big work we've done. I mean, not underestimate what we've done in the 6 weeks already. It's quite a lot of work. 17 hours of audio, 17 blog posts, half an hour every day marketing it, quite a lot of tech for you. Do you know what I mean? Not to be undertaken lightly, Nicola.
No, we're lucky, though, because both our skills dovetailed on this one brilliantly.
They have.
Yeah. And didn't one of our guests mention that? Was it Yarrow talking about when he worked with Gideon Shalwick? He said our skills and strengths dovetailed really nicely. So that's another thing to think about if you're going to partner up with someone to do something like this, is to make sure that you've got complementary skills. Yes, there we go.
Well, that's nice. Thank you.
So that's I just thought that you just deserve recognition for that, because you've been like a machine on this one, which has made it lovely. And
do you know the funny thing about that is I don't feel I need any recognition, and do you know why? It's because I'm loving doing it. If I was doing a job that was really difficult and hard and I wasn't liking it, I'd probably feel like I needed what's the word? I've lost it already. Recognition.
Yeah, and are you?
to pat you on the back when you've done something hard and difficult. I don't feel that any of this has been hard or difficult, do you?
No, not at all. No, God, it's been great. And do you feel it's inspired you a bit about, your own travels to come?
It's been informative. I think I've been interested in it from a whole other level, actually. And I think I might have said this somewhere. I don't know whether I've said it to you or in one of the blog posts or on one of the talks. I'm not sure I have. Wayne Dyer, who you know was one of my absolute heroes, he was the first man who showed me what was important to me in the second half of my career, i.e. at the beginning, it's all about ambition, and in the end, it's all about meaning. And quite a lot of these interviews are about meaning. And so less the specifics of travelling around or having a passion business, rather than all of the 18's quest for meaning, and that being unique to each of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's been a lot less practical tool orientated than I thought it was going to be, and much more, much deeper, actually.
And then I think that's the value of it.
Yeah, and that's why it's evergreen.
Yeah, they do all manage to answer your tool question, and you've enhanced the tool question as we've gone along and made it more exciting, more desert island disky. But they none of them like the thought of their tools being taken away from them, do they?
No, they don't. No, they don't. And there's a recurring theme, which is I might, yet contact someone for sponsorship because their name is coming up quite a lot. So that might be quite good. All right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we've managed to get to 10:02, which is rather marvellous considering a short challenge of the week. So lovely. It's been a pleasure as always, and thank you very much for joining us.
All right. See you soon, love. Bye.
Whether you are a raving fan of our podcast or a relative newbie, we'd love you to become one of our global ambassadors. This is a secret group on Facebook where we have fun and make money. And share with your friends both online and off using your affiliate link. That way your friends get a 20% discount and you make $67 and so do we. Help us to keep the podcast alive and thriving. Go to ownitthepodcast.com/affiliates to find out more.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.